On Super Bowl Sunday, some of the employees here at Performance Bicycle, myself included, are going to be taking on our local grassroots road race known as Paskenta. This is a 100-mile road race with 5 miles of gravel. I'm going to break down this event and provide some insight and suggestion into equipment choices and preparation to maximize the experience on the day, whether that be to win the race or simply to go and survive. Heading into an event of this magnitude is nothing to simply glaze over and take for granted. A little bit of thoughtful preparation up front can be the difference between crossing that finish line and being stranded in the middle of nowhere with no cell service and no way to get home. So in this video, I'm going to be laying out the course overview for Paskenta. After we do that, we're going to then take into account that course overview to lay out some special considerations given the course. From there, we're going to do the final decisions us employees will be taking as far as equipment, and then we'll wrap it up with a recap of the event to decide if we did end up making some mistakes. A so-called California Spring Classic, Paskenta is a 100-mile road race that features 5 miles of gravel smack in the middle. Rolling from 1 mile recreation area in Bidwell Park, the race heads north, exiting Chico, before turning west and crossing the Pancake Flat Valley and reaching the quaint town of Paskenta in the western foothills. As you roll through Paskenta, take a quick look around and enjoy the peace, because it sure won't last for long. As you leave the town, the rollers gain just enough elevation to bring on the pain before rolling back down and picking up speed, sending you into the dirt and gravel. This 5-mile stretch of gravel guides riders south through the rolling terrain, with climbs hovering around 30 seconds, before making the transition back to pavement, which is questionably better than the gravel. Here you will start heading east, back in the direction of Chico. A few punchy rollers up through Black Butte Reservoir spit you back into the valley, where the straight roads and gusty winds can have their way with you. After over an hour of traveling straight on Highway 32, you will come up on River Road turnoff, which signals 5 miles remaining to the finish line. From there, you will wind along the river until the final turn about 3 miles out onto West Sacramento. A fairly straight road lined by the orchards and features a long chicane starting about 400 meters out, making for a long, fast drag to the line. Now from that overview, we can take and break this down into some special considerations that make this event unique. These are going to be the factors that can have a huge impact on the outcome of your ride. The first thing that we're going to talk about is this is a 100-mile road race with lots of flat, potentially windy riding. When riding in the wind, it is important to be as efficient as possible, as well as to know what you're doing and what's going on. Some of the best riders in the world struggle riding in the wind. Just look what happens in any Grand Tour race when you hit a big crosswind section. Things get blown to pieces. So it is important to know how to ride in the wind, where the wind direction is coming from, how to rotate, just those general sort of things for this kind of event. So now building off of that first point, when you're riding in the wind, you want to be as efficient as possible and utilize aerodynamics to your advantage any way you can. This can go a whole host of directions, but we'll narrow it down to a couple key factors to have the maximum benefit on your ride. The next thing that we can take from this overview is going to be that there is 5 miles of gravel in the middle of this race. Now, riding through gravel can bring multiple challenges into a race. Not only do you need to have the handling capabilities to ride over this varying terrain, but you also need to make sure that your equipment is going to be up to the task as well. There is wisdom in the phrase, you can't win the race if you can't make it to the finish line. And the third thing that we want to take from this race is that it is an unsanctioned event, meaning that there is not going to be a bunch of rest stops. It's very grassroots and low key. While many grassroots events are now incorporating aid stations and support, not all will. So it is important to do a little bit of research beforehand to know what you are getting yourself into. When you're going on a flat ride, deep wheels can be a really good option. While ultra deep TT wheels can be a complete terror in the wind, there are a handful of options that fall in the 40 to 60 millimeter-ish range, which would be perfect for this kind of event. When you encounter strong crosswinds, you want to have stability. And if you go too deep, you're going to lose that stability. But if you go too shallow, you're not going to gain the aero advantages that can come with these. Next up, we're going to talk about clothing. When it comes to riding, our bodies create the biggest drag when we're out on the bike. So maximizing our aerodynamics as a person is going to be the biggest thing that you can do on the bike. While we can't change our physiologies to actually be smaller and faster, we can pick and choose our kit to help maximize our efficiency. Tight-fitting kits are synonymous with cycling for a reason, and it's not strictly because we look good in them. While it may be tempting to immediately look in the direction of your gravel bike when you hear the word gravel, don't jump the gun just yet. With relatively wide tire clearance and tubeless technology these days, road bikes are more than capable of getting a little dirty. Just take a look at the bikes that were used at Gravel World Championships in 2022. Tubeless tires provide a tremendous advantage when it comes to riding over varied terrain. I'm not going to get into all the details of the benefits that come with tubeless tires. However, I will say tubeless tires are the future. Within that, there are a few things to still take into account when you're talking about tubeless tires. There are many options out there, many different makes and brands available. So if you can have a good durable set of tires, it might be worth sacrificing a little bit of extra weight for that extra durability. Here at Performance Bicycle, our staff has found that 28 millimeter tires tend to be the sweet spot in the combination of speed, weight, and durability. Also, 28 millimeter tires tend to be a width that most modern road bikes can accommodate, whether you're still running rim brakes or you're now on disc. But of course, do make sure to check that your bike does clear them before you just throw them in there and try and ride. The next thing is just a general bike run through. If you're going to take all this time out of your life to go to an event, you want to prepare ahead of time to maximize your time at the event. That's going to be making sure that your bike is in general working order. It can be as simple as cleaning and lubing your drivetrain, ensuring that your brake pads have enough life left, topping off the sealant in your tires, making sure that your shifting is reliable and accurate, and even charging it if that is the case. But whatever it is, it can be very frustrating if you are out on the course and do have a easily avoidable problem hold you back. So do make sure that your bike is in properly functioning order before you head over to your event. If you're on your local group ride, you're not going to rely on the person next to you to bring a spare tube just in case you get a flat tire. Likewise, you're not going to bring along a spare derailleur just in case the worst happens. Same sort of thing out there on race day. Make sure that you are prepared for standard operating procedures. If you encounter a flat, you want to be able to fix that without having to try and wait for support that may never come. But in the case of a catastrophic failure, it is always a smart idea to bring along your cell phone and some cash. And going along with bringing the equipment for yourself on the day, do bring along all the nutrition that you might think you need on the bike, as well as it's always smart to pack an extra goo or bar on top of that, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer than you expect. So now that we have determined the essential parameters for our equipment and gear, let's go ahead and get into the final decisions that us employees here at Performance are making for the day. First up, we have Ryan Oakes. He is opting to run his road setup with 32 millimeter Terravale Rampart tubeless tires. Then we have Nick Wallace. He too is opting for his typical road setup. He is actually throwing on some 32mm Vittoria Corsa Next tubeless tires. And then we come to my setup. I again, just like everyone else, will be running my standard road bike. However, I am opting to run 28mm Vittoria Corsa Next tubeless tires. The best accessory to pair with tubeless tires is going to be a tubeless tire plug tool. We here at Performance Bicycle absolutely love the Dynaplug. We feel it is the most efficient and best way to plug a tubeless tire. If you haven't checked out Dynaplugs, go ahead and check them out because you will be very surprised at what they're capable of. So as anticipated, the main difference that pops up between these bike decisions that we have each made for our setup comes down to the tubeless tire choice. We did all go with tubeless, however Ryan and Nick opted for larger volume 32mm tires. I chose to stick with the 28s, good old tried and true race tires. So who do you think made the right decision, and who made the wrong one? We're back. After a day of fighting the brutal crosswinds and conquering the gravel, we do have a clear winner. But I wouldn't say that the winner is necessarily a person, although there definitely was a winner on the day. Shout out to Diota Abba. But I'd say the winner is tubeless tires. While Ryan and Nick had an unscathed day out on the road, I did actually encounter a flat. Well, not exactly a flat. Riding through the gravel, something punctured my front tire, and I lost almost all of my pressure. But it did actually end up sealing up at about 10 psi. In the case of an emergency, I could have easily limped it home on that, but in the race scenario, it was best to pull over, shoot it with a CO2. Took a few seconds, but I was right back up and running. Of course, everyone wants to have a perfect day out on the bike, but not always will things go your way. But with the right preparation, you can feel calm and relaxed, knowing that you are prepared for whatever does get thrown into the mix. Well, Paskenta marks the first event of the year for us at Performance Bicycle. But keep an eye out, because we may be in your local neighborhood sometime soon. If you have any events that you would like to see us attend or watch us plan for, please leave a comment down below and let us know what that is. Now head on out the door and have your best ride yet.